tonight. President Obama has outlined his plan to get the nation's debt and deficit under control. And here's who loved it. Are you ready? It's the far-left New York Times columnist, Paul Krugman, the AFL-CIO, the SEIU, Nancy Pelosi, and pretty much every employee at MSNBC. So, not surprisingly, conservatives and Republicans are opposed. But here's something we should all remember. President Obama promised to cut the deficit in half by 2012.
As our interest payments rise, our obligations come due, confidence in our economy erodes, and our children and our grandchildren are unable to pursue their dreams because they're saddled with our debts. And that's why today I'm pledging to cut the deficit we inherited by half by the end of my first term in office.
That is not happening, folks. So the question is, can anyone take this president seriously when it comes to dealing with America's fiscal nightmare? Or was yesterday's speech just campaign rhetoric? Joining us now from New York, liberal talk radio star and Fox News analyst Leslie Marshall. Hey, Leslie, how are you?
Good, Laura. How you doing?
I'm good. So do you agree with our friends at the other cable network, basically, that the president hit it out of the park last night? Or do you think, like Clive Crook in The Atlantic, who's no conservative, by the way, said there was no sign of anything worth calling a plan to curb borrowing faster in this budget? There
is another cable network that does this kind of stuff. No, sorry.
Exactly.
I couldn't resist. Honestly, I wouldn't say he necessarily hit it out of the park, but I definitely think he had a good day up at bat. And one of the reasons is I think that he was very clear, and I don't think he has wavered. He is saying to the GOP, look, the kind of cuts that you want on the backs of the middle class, the working class seniors when it comes to entitlement programs such as Medicare, Medicaid, I'm not really, basically saying I'm not going to sign that we can have cuts to these programs when it comes to fraudulent areas of these programs without cutting benefits. I also think he also stuck it in a sense to his party, which is saying, and you guys need to be on board with some of these cuts. The bottom line here is we know, left or right, whether a wolf is on the endangered species list or not is not going to reduce our deficit.
No, I don't think so. But look, on the Medicare issue, he clearly is just saying, look, we're not touching this. Certainly not going down this road of Paul Ryan that he basically really vilified. Ryan's sitting in the front row, and I've never seen anything like it, where the president of the United States invites someone to a speech and then essentially, by implication, calls his idea un-American and lacking in courage. Do you think that was classy? Did you think that was dignified?
I think it was showing leadership that some people have been asking him to show, and certainly those on the left are saying that he needs to be stronger in his stance against the right. Of course, those on the left who feel he's come too far to the middle. The reality is, numbers-wise, and you know this, Laura, since January 1st, we have 10,000 people a day entering into their senior years for the next 19 years. So it does look like, hey, we're going to make a lot of cuts on the backs of more and more Americans going forward.
But he doesn't offer an alternative, Leslie. That's the problem. There's no alternative. He did not offer a plan. His plan was basically vilify Ryan, vilify Ryan's plan, say you're going to throw grandma into the street, disabled children, autistic children, and yet not offer a serious plan to get the spending of these programs under control, except for his the health care panel that's apparently going to ration care. Let me play something for you, though. January 29th, 2010. This is what the president said to, and I think this was at the GOP House Issues Conference. Let's listen.
We're not going to be able to do anything about any of these entitlements if what we do is characterize whatever proposals are put out there as, well, that's the other party is being irresponsible. The other party's trying to hurt our senior citizens. That the other party is doing X, Y, Z.
Well, Leslie, even you have to admit, that's an unfortunate soundbite to hear today, given what he said about the elderly, about poor people, about disabled people, and Republicans, obviously, in his view, wanting to push them out.
I see politicians do this on both sides of the aisle, no question. One of the reasons I would never be a politician, I'm sure my foot would be in my mouth numerous times. But again, one of the reasons, Laura, that I said at the onset of this that I don't think that he hit it out of the park is what I said prior to his speaking is he needed to do more than just come up with what I call an outline for a budget proposal. There need to be specific numbers that back it up. You can't just say, I don't like your plan, here's the problem with it. You need to provide a solution. And I know that I and others in my party are frustrated by that.
Well, what about the 12-year projection, Leslie? Because this is based on very optimistic assumptions about growth, our economic growth, up to 5% a year, which most people think is just not going to happen where the unemployment is today. So you have that optimistic projection. You also game it out to 12 years. Gene Sperling is asked about this today on the Today Show, and he said, well, if it's a 10-year projection, then it's only $3 trillion in savings. I just think, whether it's on the left or the right, I think people are so tired of these games with the numbers. I think we saw it on this budget deal. I've already talked about that. But I think we're seeing it in what President Obama is saying. 10 years is the benchmark, and in 10 years, even if you take him at face value, it's $3 trillion. That's a pretty significant difference from the 12-year game we're playing.
Well, no question about the numbers. Laura and I agree with you, left or right. These people get frustrated, you know, the general public, and I do as well as you. But again, people in America want the bottom line, and they want less politics. And at the end of the day, you have Republicans in the House who don't agree with the Democrats, the Senate and the Democrats that don't agree, and none of this even gets to the president's desk. So what he said, did it really matter when Congress isn't going to give him something he can sign? 10 years, 12 years, we need something going forward, and we don't have that yet.
Yeah, here comes the tax increases. Leslie, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Laura.